picture comes to mind, that which my mom so loves. It's the last photo taken of my dad within 24 hours of his death. And it's a picture of my dad sitting in a chair. And my dad is sitting in a chair, and Arya had just finished helping him lay tefillin. And my dad's only concern was that he felt unworthy of davening, feeling that he was lacking proper kavanah. Hearing this was the moment when I felt I finally understood Yesh shekoneh olamo b'sha'a achat. My mom loves that picture because to her, the image is reminiscent of a malach, of total purity. For me personally, there are many other pictures that I prefer which portray him in a more vibrant manner, involved with his children and grandchildren. But what I will say is that it evokes other powerful images for me. To me, every day that we did Birkat HaMazon during Pesach, the words Harachamanhu Yanchilenu Yom Shekulo Tov, Yom Shekulo Orach, Yom Shetzadikim Yoshvim Va'akroteim Barasheim V'nehenim Mizid Hashchina. Yes, I say that even though I'm Ashkenaz because I think those words are just so beautiful. But that's the image of my father that comes to mind when I look at that picture. And that's how I'd like to envision him, then and now. Though we've just celebrated a beautiful Chag together with our family, Pesach will always be especially bittersweet for all of us. Having spent our last Pesach together with my dad in Yam HaMelech 3 years ago, this Yantif will always be the best of times and the worst of times. The most memorable of the Chagim in terms of family time spent together, yet tainted by the most poignant sense of loss since my dad's Ptira followed so closely on the heels of Pesach. Let me share a glimpse with you of how Pesach was in our family, of the Seder in my parents' home. Among many other times, this was when my dad shone. He had his predictable way of beginning the Seder by welcoming everyone there and doing it in his characteristically warm and effusive manner, definitely ensuring that everyone felt comfortable and included. He succeeded somehow in engaging everyone in the Seder experience in the truest sense of B'chol Dor Vador. Whether this meant each person reading the text of the Haggadah in Hebrew or in English, if that was more comfortable for them, or if they preferred just following along and not reading aloud at all, including everyone in the singing and playfully pointing to each person to sing a line of text in Dayenu or Chad Gadya, or again, if they weren't comfortable, skipping over them without it being obvious or awkward. The Seder was a real combination of serious Divrei Torah, stories of his days in the American Army, where at the tender age of 18 he was already leading a Seder for other Jews who were with him who hadn't had the benefit of his education. Stopping for questions, listening to others' opinions or insights, but mostly there was a special aura of warmth and laughter, of music and song. As the grandchildren matured, every year, about a month before Pesach, he would assign each of them a topic to research, such as Sfirat HaOmer or Maaseh B'Rabbi Elazar. Every year it was different, so that when the Seder time came, they could quote-unquote report back to him on their findings, not putting them on the spot at the Seder, but asking them ahead of time to look into it. He gently taught them how to come prepared. That was his way. And I have to tell you that our kids and my nieces and nephews took this assignment very seriously. Why? Because their Saba had asked them to do it. His words carried significant gravitas. Sure, at times it was somewhat daunting, but in the end, he made them feel so proud that they had lived up to his expectations. They wanted to do this. They thrived in his approval, and he totally approached each of his grandchildren as B'nei Vanim Harehem Kavanim. In my mind, there's no one who fulfilled the Higadata Levincha in a more meaningful way. Learning from a grandfather is different than learning from a Rebbe or a father. It's on a whole different level. So my dad will always be present at our Seder, because the mark he left was indelible. And this I definitely appreciated while he was still alive, and I can so clearly remember sitting at my parents' Seder table in the later years, and wishing I could just bask in that light forever. But his legacy will always be with us, and if we're fortunate, it will serve as Maseh Avot Siman Levanim. There were many sides to my dad, and in some ways, the person he became and how he got there are unfathomable to me. Though his childhood was cut short by necessity, and his formative years from 13 to 18 were spent apart from his nuclear family, he never allowed the Shoah to define him. This I was thinking while listening to the Kel Malei Rachamim at Yad Vashem last night. Thank you, Silvan. In the most unbelievable of ways, this served to strengthen him, to fortify his beliefs, and to shape his character as someone who was always larger than life. While Yekish in background, this too did not totally define who he was. Yes, that heritage was there, with its strong traditions and disciplined way of doing things, but he was the farthest thing from being a cold Yaki. How he managed to seamlessly integrate the best of both worlds, to impart the lessons to us, yet for us to always know that his discipline emanated from a place of love. He just had this unbelievable way about him. His quiet dignity, his love for people, and people's love for him. His special smile, and the warmth that he radiated to all who knew him. These are just some of the things we will miss. Nosaf al zeh, there is no one who epitomizes better the words of Kohelet, B'chol eit yihiyu b'gadecha levanim. How to translate this? I think you get it, knowing who my dad was. There was an ever-present forthrightness about him, a sense of a person who always had his affairs in order. A person whose morality and value system is always right on. In short, my father will always be Avi, Mori, Rabbi, the exemplar par excellence of how a person should behave. Yehi Zichro Baruch, U'tehei Nishmato Tzrura B'tzvah HaChayim.